Well, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into another edition of the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the women's basketball universe. Coming away, folks, in Los Angeles, California, finally, after a bit of a run-in at California Pizza Kitchen on Fig and 7th down here. We are finally off and running this evening here with tonight's program. I know we'll fix everything on the website later on. We'll talk about the website as well a bit later on during the course of our abbreviated show this evening, of course, coming in a bit late with traffic and food and so on and so forth. But good evening, folks. Alongside a starting lineup finally in a couple days, finally back here. Cal McClurg is joining you out of Studio 171 in Studio 703 on top of the 7th floor of the fabulous Lux City Center Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, California. Joined, of course, by two other people somewhere in this county of LA somewhere. That'd be Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart. And, of course, over there in the Central Time Zone is Eric Nemchok over in Elmerson, Illinois. And back in Memphis tonight is Reagan Patrick. Starting 5, good evening. Sorry for that brief delay with the pizza restaurant over here on 7th Street being a little bit on CP time, as we would say, in an off-air hangout. Other than that, though, how's everything been going tonight?
Everything is going well.
Good, pretty good.
All right.
Yes,
everything
is going good so far.
Yeah, we're all kind of like either out of breath from like running from one hallway to get ice and come back, or either from looking at the absurd price of the minibar here in my room, folks. Again, I'll be up here for the next 2 days, so again, you'll see us tonight and tomorrow. Both of our shows for the remainder of the week up here in Los Angeles, and of course we'll be back in studio with you folks back on Monday next week as well. But folks, the purpose of me being up in Los Angeles, for you folks wondering again, I'm going to be attending a 2-day broadcast and sportscasters workshop being put on by a tremendous lineup of ESPN and Fox Sports 1 analysts. They'll be conveying about 5 minutes from this hotel at the JW Marriott Residence Inn in Los Angeles at LA Live. So again, that'll be tomorrow and Saturday, and again we'll have programming for you folks. Again, probably a bit late because the workshop does get out at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So again, we'll probably slide in some coverage perhaps later in the evening. But with that though, Reagan, I know we've kind of missed you, sadly. You've been very kind with school and everything included, but Reagan, you did though happen to meet up with a pretty awesome female athlete a couple days ago, and one that has become a folk hero and a legend for the sport of women's soccer. Reagan, go ahead and tell us out there who you happened to bump into, I guess, and you got a chance to. I know that you've done a lot recently for not just the U.S. women's national soccer team, but also for the game of female soccer in general. Who was it and why?
Yeah, I got to meet Carly Lloyd. Awesome person. Very genuine, very humble. She was speaking at a school about 2 hours away from me. So, I mean, my 8 a.m. was canceled Tuesday morning. I was done with classes early Monday. Why not drive 2 hours and, go witness greatness?
Yeah, greatness indeed. And as I said, Reagan, again, what Carly has meant to obviously the U.S. women's national soccer team, but also, though, Reagan, what she's meant, I think, for the sport of women's soccer, with her incredible play during the entire World Cup as well. Obviously, as you said, so humble and so grateful. I know that you were, probably ecstatic to see her. I know that, you're a really big supporter of the U.S. women's national soccer team. I think that as much as all of us are in this hangout for all the things, though. And Reagan, I guess I would ask you this, though, before we do move on to bigger and better things, is, seeing Carly's performance, though, in the World Cup, and, of course, we know that, you cover and you watch the NWSL. You're a huge fan of that upcoming league, and it's kind of in a similar spot with the WNBA, of course, with pay problems and not a lot of media coverage, so on and so forth. But Reagan, when one player like Carly Lloyd, has a breakout game, a breakout tournament, Reagan, in your mind, what can that do though for not just a team, but also for an entire nation, and also for a sport like the NWSL or even women's soccer in general? Another sport like the WNBA that does not get a whole lot of love and support from the media. What can her performance, really do for the game in your mind?
I think it just brings awareness to everything. Like, the amount of people that didn't know about the NWSL until after Carly scored her hat trick in the 16 minutes and things like that. I think it just brings awareness to everyone. So once she did that, I think everyone like started to jump on the bandwagon and try to support as much as they could.
Now, folks, I will say quickly as well that the internet inside the hotel is a little bit iffy. So if you do see some problems perhaps during the course of the broadcast, do not be alarmed. It's just a little bit because I am on the 7th floor of this hotel, and who knows where that modem may be for the internet here at Lux Center City here from Studio 703. With that, though, guys, we'll get to another WNBA season recap. This evening, we're recapping the 2015 season for the Phoenix Mercury tonight. The Mercury coming off of another 21 season, but an early exit in pretty controversial fashion, as you heard us probably articulate at earlier in the offseason. Again, how the one pretty much missed call screwed up an entire playoff series. But Shorty, we'll start with you because, again, you're first in line here as opposed to everyone else because you're closer to me in this hangout along the timeline here. Shorty, obviously, we knew it would be a kind of a difficult season for the Mercury when you heard the news about Diana Taurasi being the first domino to fall during the offseason, again, taking the $2.5 million overseas offer from UMC Ekaterinburg in Ekaterinburg, Russia, to sit out the entire summer season to fulfill those obligations, and also be a tough year as well without Penny Taylor also playing. So, Shorty, a team playing without both of its star players, obviously, in my mind, kind of set up, I think, was probably a recipe for disaster for such a team that really has not had to play life without Diana Taurasi or PT, and obviously Brittany Griner stepped in that spotlight. A lot of younger players did as well, like Candice Dupree and DeWanna Bonner, stepping to fill the void. But Shorty, in your mind though, your overall take on the Mercury's 2015 campaign, reasons why?
With so many things that happened, during the season for the Phoenix Mercury. Of course, we talked about Taurasi and Penny Taylor sitting out, and of course there was once again we'll have to bring up the whole domestic violence issue with Brittany Griner and Glory Johnson, and not only DT and Penny sitting out for the season, also the Mercury lost Shay Murphy to an ACL acquired overseas, so she tore her ACL, and then she was quickly waived after. So the Phoenix Mercury come into the season minus one of their biggest stars in Brittany Griner, who was suspended by the WNBA for 7 games due to pleading guilty in that domestic violence case for assault and disorderly conduct, and she had to enter a diversion program to get the charges wiped off her record. So after she came back, she was dominant as ever, and their season overall, I mean, they were pretty consistent. I mean, they didn't have the same record of 29-5, but they still won 20 games, so that was pretty good for them. They met the president to and they went to the White House to honor them for winning the championship last season. So they head to the playoffs in the first round in the Western Conference semis, dismantled the Shock, and then as you just brought up, when they finally got to the Western Conference Finals, they lost in one of the most controversial calls in league history, when a ref anticipated a foul from Maya Moore, that was supposedly committed by Noelle Quinn, but after the whole game went down, seeing the Mercury in their season, the WNBA league officials didn't come out and say, "Oh, well, our bad, we made a mistake," but whatever. I mean, the deal was done, and that's how the Mercury season ended.
Reagan, I think that we all kind of knew that perhaps it would be a struggle for the Mercury this season because of the loss of both Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor, their 1-2 combo for so many years. And obviously, in spite of that, though, we still had a 20-win season. But again, I think, though, that there's going to be, more fuel to the fire with that Minnesota Lynx Phoenix Mercury rivalry, with how the playoff series ended in the conference finals, of course, with that kind of, convoluted and, I think pretty fishy ending to Game 2 of the conference finals in Phoenix. But Reagan, though, your overall take on how the Mercury, though, did perform with so many obstacles in their path between Taylor and Taurasi sitting out, and of course Brittany Griner with her 7-game suspension. Your thoughts on their overall campaign and why?
I may not be the biggest fan of the Mercury, but I will give them their props. They did better than I thought they would do especially without DT. I didn't even know what to expect from them this season. Honestly, I knew Brittany Griner was gonna come out play her game. You know that DeWanna Bonner is gonna come out play her game. And people like that, like Dupree, they're gonna play, of course, but what to expect without their leader on the floor. And they still had a 20-win season. They made it to the play.
All right, so apparently as I said, the internet here again at the hotel again may be a bit iffy this evening, but again, bear with us tonight. But again, Crystal, we'll go to you now on this one. So obviously, okay, we know though that it may have been a struggle with without Diana and Penny playing this season. You knew it would be probably a bit rough, but again, following Brittany Griner having that 7-game suspension, though, coming back, and again, this was kind of her first chance to really be in the spotlight instead of being, behind D and Penny as well. But Crystal, though, your overall take though on their entire season and why?
I thought Phoenix played well despite having distractions, despite not having Diana Taurasi. I mean, they finished 20-14, so they managed to pull off a 20-win season. I will have to commend Brittany Griner for playing as well as she did, despite the whole Glory Johnson situation. For her to be so young and to fight through that, it showed her maturity level, and it showed that she was really focused on one thing this year, which was basketball.
Eric, obviously a whirlwind season for Phoenix, of course, being the defending champs with the target on their back and being the hunted for the entire season, of course, with them carrying the championship throughout the 2014 campaign until their pretty controversial exit from the postseason in pretty fishy, fashion, like I said earlier on in the block here. But Eric, though, your overall take on how the Mercury, in spite of all the obstacles again without Taurasi and Taylor, and of course BG suspended 7 games, how they overcame all that to have another great season. Your thoughts and why?
It was a big success. I don't think there's any denying that, because you have to take into account not only did they lose Taurasi and Taylor for the season, which are 2 superstars in this league, but they lost their entire backcourt. The amount of turnover in the backcourt they had was, you had Taurasi sitting out, Shea Murphy, as Shorty said, waived. Aaron Phillips went to Los Angeles. You had Mo Curry come in, Alex Harden drafted, Tiffany Bias starts getting rotation minutes, Marta Jargai got rotation minutes. So, the amount of adjustments you have to make as a coach and as a team when you have that kind of turnover in your guard core it really can't be understated. So I think the Mercury did an excellent job as far as that's concerned, especially Sandy Brundello in particular. And yeah, as far as DB and Candice Dupree and Griner towards the end of the season, I think they just played their games, and I think it's kind of interesting because we think of the West as usually the powerhouse conference, but I would argue that was not the case this season because you had San Antonio and Seattle who were pretty much locks to not make the playoffs. So I think Phoenix was going to make it anyway, but winning 20 games in kind of a down year for their roster, I think, was a big accomplishment nonetheless.
Yeah, Eric, I think that perhaps it was a bit of a down year, but again, though, I think that all of us in here would probably in the back of my mind thought, okay, this is kind of a mini transition year. How will this team perform without seeing their 2 star players on the floor? And Tanisha, going to you, obviously Sandy Brundello has done a tremendous job in her 2 years there with the Mercury. Of course, got him a team to the 2014 championship and just a dominant season that we probably will never see again for a while. Again, just of one team just rolling over everybody of how they did again. A league record 29 wins, and 5 losses, and of course getting through the playoffs with just 1 loss all playoffs. That entire playoff run. Shorty, what would you say though about how good of a job Sandy has done, and of course this year specifically again dealing with all the roster turnover as Eric alluded to earlier on?
A wonderful job. she definitely, shocked a lot of people, coming in last year as a rookie coach. Of course, we all know that she has been a long time assist coach in the league for numerous, give her, the keys to a franchise in the way she, rallied the team, all together and took them all the way to the top. It was amazing. And then in her second year, even, with all the stuff that her players, were going through, she still kept the team together, kept everyone focused, and, she was ready to take them to the top again until, that whole thing in the Western Conference Finals happened. But still, she did an amazing job, and I think she will continue to, do amazing things for the Mercury organization.
Reagan, Sandy Brondello's done a great job. I mean, the turnover from Corey Gaines late in the 2013 season to Sandy in 2014, and how it immediately, was a new chapter for the Mercury players again that had, they had a couple of hiccups in 2013, of course, though, getting to the conference finals again, though, but 2014, of course, Sandy comes in and, lifts the team to the top of a few WNBA records, for most wins in a season, the second longest win streak in league history, so on and so forth with that great record. How did you think, though, that she did, though, with, in spite of all the roster turnover, how she did, though, coaching this team, though, to, another great season this year again down there in Phoenix?
Was this question directed to me?
Yes, it was. Sorry about that.
Oh. Okay. I think she did a great job. I think she handled it the way she was supposed to handle it. I think her team made it a lot easier for her to, coach them. I think they're very coachable sometimes. But like I said, I think she did a great job.
Crystal, obviously we see, sometimes, an in-house option assistant coach normally would get moved to a head coaching position in any sport most times. But obviously, a assistant coach going from one team to another to be their head coach, and to see it click like this right out the gate was incredible. To see that Mercury team just what they did in 2014. Crystal, in spite of everything that Sandy had to go through this year with the roster turnover and, of course, with the suspension to Brittany Griner, how did she, really keep this team together when the going really got tough for them in 2015 this year?
I just think, her team really bought into her. They believe in everything she said. They trust her. And for a coach, especially a new head coach, that's one of the toughest things to do going into a new team. And, whatever she tells them or whatever, their plan was, they really bought into it. And that's the reason why they got so far, which is the reason why she did so well. I mean, I like Sandy. I think she's cool. I wish the Sparks still had her. But, that's been there and that's gone now. But, I think Sandy did a really good job this year.
Eric, as we had brought up again, the 2013 coaching turnover for the Mercury, of course, in the postseason, they went with a different option for the last half of the season into the playoffs, and of course, they hired Sandy in 2014, and of course, as we had said, coming in and immediately making an impact like this, making things click, with that, with so many records that team set in 2014, and of course, a lot of, pretty much, kind of a bad poker hand dealt to her in 2015. But, Eric, what would you say, though, about Sandy's 2 years in Phoenix, though, and how she's really turned that franchise around in your mind?
Man, Sandy's excellent. I'd rank her with Cheryl Reeve and Stephanie White as one of the best head coaches in the league. I think she, for one, she always has her team prepared. Their game plan is always excellent, I feel. She's really good with the adjustments, in-game adjustments. Her out-of-bounds plays are, in my opinion, unrivaled in this league. They always get a shot at the rim. They always get a layups or free throws out of bounds. Every single time. It's uncanny. And but yeah, I think she clearly has the respect of her team. Like everyone's been saying, buy in. They're clearly have bought into what she's trying to get them to do, and just the way she utilizes her talent. I mean, she knows that Brittany Griner is an elite defensive talent. So she wants her defending the rim as much as possible. It seems like common sense, but you'd be surprised. I think she really recognizes what kind of talent she has in Phoenix, and she's pretty much dedicated to getting as much out of it as possible.
I think like we all said though, folks, is whenever there's a coaching change for the better, 9 times out of 10, things kind of do this a bit more with the team, and to see that though like this, from a first-year head coach with a new team, and to see that happen like that again, the 29 wins, so on and so forth, that is by far like the fastest I've ever seen a new head coach make an immediate impact on any team I've ever seen, in 21 years of covering the sports world. I've never seen a new coach come in and immediately, just start, have a team that just starts, setting records and whatnot. Again, 29 wins, so on and so forth, with the Mercury's 2014 campaign, and of course in this year. But Shorty, let's go back though and kind of revisit a story we talked about though with the LA Sparks a couple weeks ago again, which was, of course, this time though it's about the first person that was the first domino that fell over for the off-season sit-out campaign. That was, of course, Diana Taurasi taking a $2.5 million contract, you can sort of say, from UMMC Ekaterinburg to sit out the entire 2015 season to rest her body for the 2016 season plus the Olympic Games as well in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Tanisha, I think that we all knew, though, that whenever any player, star player, bench player, would do this type of thing, that it would immediately start to kind of give the WNBA a bit of a even worse rep than what it already gets for, the size of the league and all the other nonsense that we hear on a day in and day out basis. But Tanisha, when you first heard the story though about Dee sitting out, initial thoughts, react to me.
Well, when I first, heard about the story, I was sort of surprised because, of course, we know that, of course, during, the season, players ask for trades and things like that. But I didn't really expect a player to literally, sit out and get paid to sit out as well. Euro Club, a number of things, but that was unheard of. So I was pretty surprised, but then at DT's age, again, it made sense because she wants to prolong her body, not only, for the WNBA, but of course for the Olympics. She wanted to extend her play and hopefully, make it to Rio de Janeiro in 2016. So when news came out, it ultimately makes sense. It made sense for her to do that. And some people, was kind of talking about if it would set a domino effect, later on with other players. But only besides Candace Parker, it really wasn't a big domino effect. But I'm pretty sure some players may sit out in the future. But, for this year, I wasn't ultimately surprised at DT sitting out.
Reagan, we make so much of these stories, more so the Candace Parker story for LA specifically was more of a talking point amongst fans, media pundits, so on and so forth. I think that Parker sitting out kind of overshadowed Taurasi sitting out the full season. We have to remember this was a full season sit out, not just 2 months later like Parker did. But Reagan, though, initial thoughts about DT sitting out for the whole season. React to me. What do you got?
Money rules the world. If someone offers you $1.5 million to sit out, who would get it? I would take it. So I mean, in all honesty, I don't see what's the big deal about it. That's just my opinion, though.
Crystal, as I brought up, though, again, we've kind of made such a big deal about, obviously, between BG and Glory Johnson, but also we made a bigger story, though, a bigger issue, I guess, bigger talking point out of this story, though, because, it was, one of the star players of the WNBA, cornerstone of this league, taking the time off to rest her body for, of course, Brazil in 2016 and also the entire season as well. And obviously, as Reagan said, though, I mean, as she said, money rules the It's all run by credit cards and Brinks trucks and piggy banks and so on and so forth. Crystal, though, your thoughts, though, about when you first heard, though, about Diana Taurasi sitting out the entire season. React to me.
I mean, kind of what Shorty and both what Reagan said. I mean, at first it was a shock, but then, like Reagan said, money rules the world. And I mean, Diana Taurasi isn't a spring chicken. She wants to play in the Olympics. She wants to make sure her body is good for next season. I mean, we saw what half of a season's rest did for Candace Parker, so imagine what Diana Taurasi is going to be like when she comes back. I mean, I mean, I love the game of basketball itself, but I probably would have taken it too. I mean, 2.5 million. Do you know how much pizzas I can buy with that? I'm a huge pizza fan. So, pizza. Do you know how much pizza I can get with that? So so we'll see. I think, I don't think it was a big deal though. Like Shorty said, it really didn't have a domino effect like a lot of people thought it would. Um, as long as she comes back and is ready to play and plays for her team and plays as hard as she did before, I don't think there should be an issue.
I can hear the LA Kings fans leaving Staples Center below my hotel room here from Studio 703 here at Lux City Center. Kings lose tonight, by the way, from Staples, about 2 blocks from me here, 3-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I can hear the traffic down below here from the hotel room here. Eric, obviously we know, though, of course, we kind of thought maybe, more so I thought it would kind of set, a bad example or, kind of a bad trend for players to kind of follow suit, of course, which would be taking either the half of the full season off. Eric, though, your initial thoughts, though, about Diana Taurasi sitting out the entire season, though, again, for the reasons that were stated by her when she broke the news back over the offseason. React to me.
Well, Kalen, I got to warn you, just because something didn't happen in one season doesn't mean a trend isn't going to be established in the future. I think it's still, it really kind of, I think, drove home the point that the WNBA still can't afford to pay its superstars what they're worth, and that really concerns me. But as far as the domino effect happening because Taurasi herself sat out, I'm not so sure about that yet. Obviously, we had a few people sitting out, but for different reasons, I think. And Taurasi's, in my opinion, was totally justified. I totally respect that decision. She's in her mid-30s now. Of course, as the lady said, she's on the Olympic team. Her body might be breaking down soon. So if you get paid to sit out, why wouldn't you do it? It's common sense to me. I think if it's going to prolong her career, more power to her. I have no problem with it.
And guys, I think like we brought the two about the Candace Parker situation with Los Angeles between me, Shorty, and Crystal about a week or so ago, again, was longevity. Again, thinking long-term about their careers, even after their careers end. Of course, as we guys may read the story, though, but again, of course, today, Candace Parker will be a part-time analyst now for the SEC network on ESPN. Of course, with her not playing overseas this year, so she found something to do over the offseason. So, but guys, though, a bigger story, though, not Phoenix related, though, but of course, league-wide news, though, breaking yesterday, of course, Laurel J. Ritchie, the now former WNBA president, stepping down after 5 seasons at the helm of the WNBA, citing wanting to go after some different personal endeavors. Of course, Laurel was a longtime National Girl Scouts of Association figurehead for a long time. Shorty, obviously, not the news you kind of want to hear over the offseason, but of course, there's some fresh blood coming in. By the way, folks, Mark Tatum, the NBA Deputy Commissioner, will take over on the interim basis for the WNBA presidential duties. Shorty, any thoughts here about this? I think we kind of figured it would be a long time coming, though, but I think, though, that in spite of, what everyone is negatively saying about Laurel Ritchie, we got to remember, though, that this was the same president that saved the LA Sparks and kept them in Los Angeles, and also has been at the point, though, of, some small growth in this league's relevancy between attendance, television viewership, so on and so forth. But Shorty, though, your overall take, though, and your final thoughts, though, about Laurel J. Ritchie's five-year tenure with the WNBA as league president. Go for it.
Well, when I first heard the news, I was shocked. I didn't see it coming. I'm pretty sure none of us in this hangout saw it coming. But, yeah, just all of a sudden she stepped down. And, of course, there was so much reaction to it. But just overall, I mean, during her, 5 years in the WNBA, I mean, I think she did a great job for what she was given. I mean, by no means she wasn't perfect, and she was criticized for, while having a marketing sense to help promote the league, she did not have the basketball background to, understand the league more and its players. So, she took a little heat for that. But overall, I mean, with her marketing sense, I mean, you can't say that she didn't do a bad job. I mean, she got the WNBA multiple marquee sponsors. First a league-wide sponsor with Boost Mobile, and then just before she left, she got another phone sponsor with Samsung, and also, she helped individual, franchises get multiple sponsors, of course, including LA with the Equitrust, in New York Liberty with DraftKings. So she might have not had the basketball background, but from the marketing standpoint, she definitely helped the team. I mean, helped the league as a whole, and you know, um, she pretty much helped. 6 out of the 12 teams was turning a profit. So she did that much, and like you brought up, she helped save the spark. So she'll always have my respect.
And by the way, Eric, judging by the Twitter commentary, I kind of had a feeling about the connection anyway, so I'll take the L for the team tonight for the connection being pretty bad this evening.
I'm just saying, man.
But Reagan, obviously, out of the blue, I guess, we were all shocked, I guess, seeing the news notification on Twitter or ESPN, whatever you guys may have seen the report first break about Laurel J. Ritchie again stepping down as WNBA president after 5 seasons. Reagan, any overall thoughts, though, about Laurel's run, though, as league president? Again, for someone, again, that did not have any basketball background with the sport in any fashion, though, again, as Sherry brought up, though, again, league-wide sponsors with, Boost Mobile, Samsung, State Farm included as well in that mix. Your thoughts on her entire run, though, again, as league president?
First, I just want to say, once I heard the news, I was in class, it's on Twitter, and like my whole face my mouth dropped. My professor looked at me like something was wrong, but when I was a junior in high school with China Robinson, and from that interview, I got that she really wanted to help the league, and I do think that she helped the league a lot. As far as Shorty's comments on her not having a lot of basketball knowledge, in my opinion, I don't think you need that much basketball knowledge to market something. You just have to know you have to know what you're talking about. I guess that's a double. Never mind on that. But anyways, I think she markets. I think she markets the league well. She did a lot of positive things. Yes, she wasn't the perfect president, but for what she did, I think she deserves she deserves a lot from that. I do want to know her reason for stepping down, though. I'm a little disappointed that she didn't say more on that. Hopefully, we find out soon.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of wants to know what the story is. Crystal, though, your final thoughts and your take about Laurel J. Ritchie's 5-year run again as league president of the WNBA. Go for it.
I think she did well in her 5 years. I mean, like everyone has said, her marketing ability for the 5 years was really great. She's got really good sponsorship deals. The branding deals is probably one of the, out of all sports, is probably one of the best things I've seen. As far as like the whole LGBT thing, just in general, you don't see that in any other sports leagues, and I think she did a really good job with that. It kind of does suck she just left so quickly. I would love to know why she left, but at least she left. I guess she left the league in a pretty good state. No teams have folded since she's been, president, so that's a good sign. I just hope whoever takes her place keeps her going with the marketing plan.
Eric, I think you may have brought this up earlier in the day when Laurel was announced her resignation again, that you brought, though, again, about, as Chris alluded to, again, about the LGBT and the entire, the league-wide pride dedication to the league. Again, we're this league, as we said about a week or so ago, again, about how the league welcomes everyone with open arms. Eric, though, your overall final thoughts, though, about Laurel J. Ritchie's run again, 5-year run again as WNBA president. Again, as we brought, though, again, no teams folded, save a team out here in Los Angeles, and, of course, a lot of other things with marketing and sponsorship. Your thoughts, buddy? What do you got?
Well, I think obviously she wasn't brought in for a basketball background, and I think that disappointed some people off the bat. But the league needed somebody to increase the visibility. Now, has the visibility of the league increased? Marginally, perhaps, but that's something that I don't think one person can do. It's just going to take time. And when you look at the athletes individually, yes, visibility is increasing. You've got Maya Moore, Alana Deladon, Skylar Diggins, so on and so forth. The athletes themselves are I would say, marketed better than they were when Richie took over. And again, obviously, just pounding the point home. No teams folded, which it sounds kind of sad that that's a positive, but it really is a positive compared to previous regimes where you had the Comets folding and then the Monarchs folding. That's 4 championships right there, and they just gone, poof. And Richie, she didn't let that happen. And obviously, the jersey sponsorships are a huge deal. The huge extension with ESPN that the league agreed to, I think it was before 2013. Again, huge deal. Obviously, could we use more games on TV? Yes, but this just ensures that there will be at least some games on ESPN. So baby steps, guys. And once again, Crystal steals my point, but I just want to say the whole WNBA Pride movement started last season. It's everything. Because, the league, it's been kind of struggling to forge an identity for itself. But I think, as I said the other day on Twitter, history is going to be very kind to Laurel Richie because of this. Because this is the first initiative to embrace the LGBT community of its kind in a pro sports league in America. And I think that when we look back on things, as we progress as a society and our views in sports and the LGBT community change, I think that, yeah, she's going to be viewed as a visionary, and the WNBA is going to be held in much higher regard because of it.
I kind of look back at Laurel's 5 years, obviously highlighted by saving the LA Sparks out here in Los Angeles, of course. The one of only 4 teams left from the initial start back in 1997. If you were to include San Antonio being in Utah, that still qualifies, in my opinion, just the relocation. And then obviously how she handled the BG and Glory Johnson incident with bringing the hammer down with a 7-game suspension for both those players, and of course Glory out for the entire season because of her twin pregnancy, of course, earlier in the off season. And with everything with the partnerships with Boost and Samsung and State Farm, and of course the jersey sponsorship, and also with the LGBT pride recognition, of course, a big step forward for American professional sports again, where you're able to say that this league welcomes everybody. Shorty, though, Michelle Volpel got a very exclusive Q&A interview with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who a little bit earlier in the season kind of threw the league under the bus for where the league of what I recall hearing again. For the league not being where it should be right now. I'm sure he was envisioning 30 teams across the country like the NBA and this big, mogul for marketing and stuff, so on and so forth. But, now that this happens, of course, where Richie resigns, he kind of backtracks and says, I am 100% fully behind this league, and there is many ways for us to improve this product. Shorty, any thoughts about Adam Silver perhaps trying to do his take and trying to improve the league's health? What do you think he's going to possibly do? I guess because we know that he kind of threw the league under the bus a bit during the season about it not being where it should be, so on and so forth. Your thoughts about Adam Silver's new comments though about that, hey, I fully support this league and I'm going to do whatever it takes in my manpower to get this league back up on its feet. What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, I think when he did that interview, he had to come out and make those statements because as soon as the news broke, rumors started to quickly swirl about the reasoning for Laura Richie leaving, and a lot of people were trying to say that oh well, after he made those comments in September, that was sort of the writing on the wall for her departure. But he had to come out and say, first off in the article, those comments had nothing to do with Laura Richie's departure. That was a separate issue. And of course, Adam Silver and the NBA front office is in the search right now to find a new president, to replace her. But overall, I think he loves this league. I mean, he along with David Stern, drew up the blueprint to start this league. So by no means does he, want to do away with this league, or as some rumors also been swirling for a while, that he would possibly fold the league. No, that is not in his future plans at all. He wants to expand the league, and he sees that, it's been around for a while, but it hasn't had the substantial growth he thought, it would have so far. So I think he's going to, get, the WNBA officials and everyone else together and come up with a plan, with the new league president to try to expand and make this league better.
Reagan, your thoughts about Adam Silver's recent comments? Because as Shorty said, though, back in September, he kind of again, tossed the league under the bus and ran him over, for how he, was expecting more, I guess, from the league. When again, in a league this young, you really can't expect so much out of it, unless it's, just booming and thriving. And obviously, it sadly takes longer for fans of any gender to get used to women's professional basketball. So I think he probably had his expectations a little too high, perhaps, when he made those statements, though. But Reagan, your thoughts, though, about him coming out now and saying that this league fully has his support 100%, through thick and thin. Your thoughts about his new comments?
Like Shorty said, I think it's something that he had to say. But I also see his point in where he says that he was there from day one and how he had this plan all written out. And, you get frustrated when something doesn't go your way or something's not moving as quickly as you need it to move. And so I think just marketing the league and trying to get it to where it needs to be it was in a frustrating time. And he made comments that he probably shouldn't have made, or comments that he probably just should have kept to himself. And he probably, I don't know if he regrets it or not, but I think he's going to work harder and trying to keep the league and trying to let it grow faster and things like that.
Crystal, I know that in multitude times of frustration that we all, say things that we probably shouldn't say, derogatory, vulgar, so on and so forth. That when we do hit that big pit of frustration, though, that we all, obviously get fired up, but of course make statements that we probably shouldn't make. And obviously, Adam Silver saying what he said in September was probably out of frustration, as we all alluded to again, of wanting something, so badly that you don't get it, and just kind of boils over and you kind of lose your mind a little bit. Crystal, in your mind, though, your thoughts, though, about Adam Silver's new comments, though, again, saying again that the league has his full support. Your thoughts and why?
I think he's just reassuring a lot of us women's basketball fans that he still has a plan that he's going to stick with, that he's not done with his plan yet. And like Reagan said, when something doesn't go your way, something that you've built from the ground up, and it doesn't move as quick as you want to, of course you're going to get frustrated. You want to see, it's kind of like a kid. You want your kid to grow up to be better than what you did and have better than what you did. And when you see them just stagnant, staying still, you're going to kind of worry a little bit. But I think his comments were very reassuring. I think the next president that they find there, he's going to try to incorporate his ideas and their ideas along with the same ideas that's already in the league and build it. So I think it's more of him just trying to reassure us fans that he's in it 100%.
Eric, I kind of, put myself in Adam Silver's position a little bit when I think back to February of last year when I came up with the idea to start this YouTube network, and also the brief time that we were on, also on online radio, was for a way to kind of, do a better job of, reporting to fans about the entire league as a whole. And obviously, it didn't really go anywhere at first. And yeah, there was nights where I was frustrated with either, negative feedback from fans that weren't fans of the WNBA or what may have been going on, with the broadcast team I had assembled during that time. And obviously with the rebrand, of course, it's helped out. But that's kind of how I was, though, too, was, you start something out of true passion or love for a sport or something, and you want to start something for it, and that's what I did. And you don't get the return, you don't get that positive return back. It's either, bad views, dislikes, whatever it may be. And now that we've built it up to where it is now, I kind of see that as Adam Silver a little bit, being there from day one, like I was here with day one on the network, and not seeing what you want to see out of your product. And now that we are where we're at now with this network is, we're on to bigger and better things. But that's kind of what it's going to be for the WNBA, in my view, with Adam Silver going forward with his president search for the league. Is they've been kind of on a flat line, for 19 seasons. But now it's a matter of them, instead of flatlining, but starting to go up this way, going up, climbing mountains now and, breaking more barriers. But Eric, your thoughts, though, about Adam Silver's recent comments, saying again that the WNBA has his full support and backing going forward. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's reassuring for sure. Although, I mean, what do you think he's going to say? Like, no, I hate the WNBA. We're just going to let it go. No, he's not going to say that. It definitely had to be said. I mean, because people, WNBA fans in particular, they say, okay, this is a really critical time because this is the first WNBA presidential hire that will be made under Adam Silver, not under David Stern. But I think, I was pretty disappointed to hear his comments back in September about how the league hasn't really met his expectations. But I kind of see where he's coming from now because I think as fans, we're disappointed too. We're disappointed that the league hasn't grown as quicker than it has already. And as Reagan said, when you have a plan, when it's all drawn up, when you have a vision like Stern and Silver did, and it just doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, yeah, it can be disappointing. I think you kind of overestimated the American public in regards to women's sports, but the league is going to be around for 20 seasons, 20-plus seasons now, and I think he needs to be happy with that at least. And who knows? Maybe he can bring his own little flair into things, and this next presidential hire will be a big hit because of him. You don't know. You just got to keep the faith and hope that he's true to his word.
I think that Crystal and Eric both used the big word of the night again, which was reassurement. Reassuring the people in this hangout, reassuring the fans across the country that are fans of the 12 teams that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel for the WNBA. And obviously, as we said though earlier on, of course, out of frustration, you say things that you shouldn't probably say, and that was probably what Adam Silver was saying, of course, back in September. Again, as we said, kind of throwing the league and the fans under the bus again for not seeing the growth he wants to, but now that the league has his full backing support, now it's a matter of, taking that next step, and seeing where they can go from here on out. Real quick, though, guys, of course, you guys probably saw on the site today over on WNBA365.wix.com/WNBA365, 2 new stories were added today to the blog features today. Of course, written by Crystal and myself today, 2 different sides of the story. Obviously, Crystal, yours was by far way better than mine because mine, sadly, is a lot like a gentleman that's in my hotel room because I have a painting in here of Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. And a very famous song by Aerosmith is called Same Old Song and Dance off of a very fitting album called Get Your Wings. Hello, people in Dallas this evening. Again, me writing about being able to meet Candace Wiggins before she was a pro. But, Crystal, obviously yours hit home with a lot of people. Of course, all of us in here had spread the word about the story. For anyone that's not read it, go ahead and give us a small little sneak peek or a preview about your story and what they can find out inside of it.
For those who have not read it, okay, get some Kleenex ready because the 3rd paragraph is heavy. It's pretty much about how, even though I was at a historic game in many of LA fans' eyes, I wasn't really more so worried about the game. I was more so worried about my personal life around the game, and that day, pretty much, the event that happened at that game, pretty much, it made me realize that things won't always be as bad as they seem, and that things, during a tough time, good things can happen, and it's not always too good to be true.
Tanisha, obviously, all of us immediately shared the story because it was really very well written, of course, and obviously, writing more so about a personal situation being bigger than a basketball game. Tanisha, your thoughts about KT's story that she had posted earlier in the day?
I mean, when it was finally posted up on the site, I read it, and of course, I already look, I already knew what it was going to be about because I already knew of the situation prior. But like Crystal brought up, when I got to that 3rd paragraph, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like I said, I knew some of the background stuff that was happening already. But when she just laid it out, I was like, oh my goodness. I really didn't know it was that tough and it was that bad and that she was really going through that. So, I was about to shed a tear, but I didn't because the thug in me wouldn't allow that. So I kept my composure, but it was a really great story. I shared it with Sue Favor of Hoopism, and she read it. She loved it. She gave great feedback, and she thanked me for sharing KT's blog post. So great job, Crystal. Great job. I
Um,
freaking loved
well,
it.
well, thank you. That just got real awkward because like you're talking about me like I'm not here and stuff. So
Now,
thank you.
now
Well, thank you. You
Reagan,
know you was
Now, Reagan, when you had quoted a tweet with the link to the story, the word that I remember seeing was speechless about, what Crystal had written about that. When you probably had gone through that entire story, your thoughts about reading that.
Well, like Shorty said, I was trying to keep it all together. I was on the bus on the way home, so sitting in my seat trying to gather myself. But you know, like Shorty said, I knew of the situation, but I think just reading it all made you like want to take a deep breath and like reflect on your life. That's got really deep really quickly, but like it just made me sort of reflect a little bit and just realize that you can never really have a bad day. It's just bad moments within a day or like things like that.
Continue
So
on here. There we go.
um
Sorry. Go on. You're good.
um
Don't mind me. Go
great
on.
story. Great story. Very well written. Good job, TRP. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. You said it made you you made you reflect. That's deep. Like it wasn't. I didn't know if it was. Either way, I want to say I appreciate everybody who did read it. I didn't know it was gonna get the kind of response it did. I was kind of afraid to write it. Actually, I didn't know how it was gonna be taken, but I'm glad people liked it.
Now, if my internet will allow me, we'll go to the man on the far side of the country and also on the far side of the hangout, and Eric. Now, Eric, we know that you write, tremendous stuff, of course, for today's Fast Break, of course, and you actually get paid for that gig, and of course, you can, write for us if you'd like to, but obviously we don't want to pile on your plate, of course, with Fast Break.
No, man, I'm totally willing to write for. Did he just freeze? I think he just froze.
Yeah. So I think, folks, this is actually the first time this has ever happened where the host actually been kicked out of the hangout again. And as we had said at the top of the show, folks, again, internet has been very, very spotty, though, here again. So we may be using the mobile hotspot on the phone tomorrow night, perhaps, to make things a lot better. Anyway, Eric, I was in the middle of saying something. I totally forgot my train of thought. But it was about your thoughts about reading Crystal's story, though. Go for it, because what do you got?
Yeah, obviously incredibly powerful testimony. It's really not easy to share things like that, especially online. Unlike Shorty and Reagan, I didn't really know the full story. I didn't really know any of it, honestly, aside from the jacket part. That's common knowledge in this hangout. Everyone knows about the jacket. But yeah, I think it really just keeps things in perspective. You're at a basketball game, but one, it can be more than a game, because I think it really just shows how these people who we look up to as athletes, they're people too, but to us, they could be heroes, they could be heroines. It can be really transcendent, I think, and yeah, I'm really having a hard time putting this into more words than that, but it's just a great testimony by Crystal. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, I mean it kind of says more about that the world of sports can do so much more for someone, good times, bad times, whatever it may be, and that's what it was, power, very very empowering, very moving is what I'll say about that. Obviously, 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, or in my case, you write a whole novel about it. It really can't really grasp how much of a role the world of sports really plays in a time of of personal problems, or with a city seeing a big disaster like we've seen many times in either Boston or Oklahoma City with tornadoes and hurricanes and so on and so forth. That sports can only play such a very minor role in a personal or a city or statewide healing process or a countrywide healing process, as we all saw with 9/11. And obviously, Shorty, of course, she had one personal story, and then you had another personal story, of course, written by myself again, and as I alluded to with Steven Tyler being in my hotel room again, kind of the same old song and dance again about me writing about one of my good friends in the league, but more so, Shorty, it was addressing the fact that I got to see a professional athlete play her sport before she became a household name amongst colleges and pros, so on and so forth, and also kind of articulating again too about meeting her again for the first time in over 11 years, and again ironically at the same hotel I'm staying at is where I had seen her the last time. Obviously, Shorty, I know that everyone in here, I think, but maybe Eric, but I think that everyone in here in a way knows about my personal story with Candace Wiggins though. But Shorty, any overall take though or thoughts about my story at all? I know there's probably not a lot because we know what of course goes on. Your thoughts, though, about the other story that was posted today on the site. What do you got?
Well, first off, I just want to say that I'm happy to have my own siren soundtrack in the background. No, not really. But, yeah, I have to quickly apologize because I have not yet gotten to your story. I will definitely read it during a off-air hangout.
All right, no problem. No problem. Go on.
Yeah, but I do know that you were very excited when you met Candace Wiggins. I mean, you guys are from the same area, San Diego, so you definitely have been following her career for a very, very long time. And that interview you did with her a few months ago, like I said, it was one of my favorite interviews along with the Candace Parker one because you just got in, so deep to her background, and like I said, I learned something new during that interview, where I didn't know that she was, originally a volleyball player first before, heading into basketball, and that she got her scholarship originally for volleyball, but ended up switching to basketball. But yeah, I mean, when we get into the off-air hangout, I'll definitely read your story.
Now, Reagan, I think that I may have told you in a auction dealer type voice very fast because I get, as you guys may know, if I get excited about something, I kind of talk pretty fast, like an auction dealer, like, going once, twice, sold, so on and so forth. But Reagan, if you may have probably stumbled upon the story, maybe I know probably no one has yet at all. Any overall thoughts though, again, about not about my friendship though, but more so again seeing a professional athlete play well before anyone knows who they are, in other cities across a professional league. Your thoughts?
I did get to read your story actually. I just got done reading it before we got on air, but I would say I think we had the same type of story. It's just like me with Skylar Biggins. I knew her, I got to see her play when she was a junior in high school, and I've been following her ever since then. And I feel sort of left out because I haven't gotten to see your interview with Wiggins. What is that?
Helicopters.
That's a helicopter.
I'm sorry to get distracted here.
Sorry about that, Reagan.
I haven't gotten to see your interview with Wiggins, so I definitely need to watch that or listen to it, however that goes. But I enjoyed your story a lot. It showed a lot about your character, but it also showed a lot about Candace's character as well.
Okay, Shorty, do I need to look out my window and see where this helicopter's at? Because I'm over here on South Figueroa, and I have no idea how close you are to me. But if they come this way, I'm blaming you, just so you know.
Hey, it's not my fault. I mean, I don't know why they're here. Maybe they want to be a part of the show or something.
Yeah, well, they were on Back to the Future Day, and that was pure comedy. But Crystal, you and I were actually working simultaneously on our stories last night, going through and proofreading our stories. Actually, that was the most beneficial part about last night was both of us writing at the same time and looking over each other's work to make sure there was no errors and stuff. So you got to finally read it for the first time all the way through. But again, Crystal, you know about the story because you were there with me when this all happened. But again, though, more so about seeing a professional athlete play before anyone else knew who she was really in a professional sport and league. What do you got?
we missed a couple of proofreading errors too, and we were so tired. We were working in the morning that Shorty had to actually go back and tell me that I spelled first wrong. But I thought the story was great. You know, it lets you know the kind of character Wiggins has, and you know, it was nice of her to hang out with you for that little time after the game. You know, a lot of times after the game, they're tired. They want to go back to the room. I thought the story was great. You followed this person pretty much half of their life, and you never know what happens in the future. You never know who you're going to run into. And Shorty, what is going on?
Helicopters.
Jeez, World War '89 over there.
It's leaving, finally.
It's NCIS Los Angeles going on because I'm up here in LA. They're looking for me, but they got to come a long way to find me over here at South Big Rose Street, away from Staples Center. Now, Eric, obviously, this was actually more so written, obviously, other than being, the same old song and dance I tell people all the time, again, referencing, my man suit in the hotel room here again. But Eric, though, not only was it about, seeing an athlete, way before she was famous, but also as a way, though, to say why a male sports fan like myself is a fan of this sport as well was, as you guys may have saw again, I wrote about my intro to the sport again, 2004 at UConn, Diana Taurasi senior year. It was a rainy day, so on and so forth. My uncle and aunt have been ticket holders for the Huskies for a long time since they moved out there, and I just happened to go to one game, and, there you go, you become a fan for life. So also, Eric, it was more so than just writing about, a personal connection with a player in the league, but also someone that I have known for a long time, seeing her in San Diego. I'm not in San Diego, of course, tonight. But, seeing a professional athlete before anyone else knows who she is was one part, but also, again, a reason I wrote, though, too, Eric, was, I've talked about, before we even, became team members here on the network was, a way, though, to say why male sports fans like you and me watch this product and watch the sport on a day-to-day basis. Eric, your thoughts on the story, if you've read it at all, or your thoughts about just in general, again, male sports fans watching women's sports. What do you got?
I'm reading it right now. No, just joking. Just joking. I read it. Yeah, it's really cool. I think we're part of a generation that's going to be at the forefront of. I don't want to say accepting women's sports because that's a misnomer. They're already accepted, but I mean just making it socially acceptable for our demographic to be really into it, and yeah, I don't mean to one up you here, but I go to the McDonald's All-American shootout. No, not All-American. McDonald's high school shootout held in a few towns over from me at the Willowbrook High School every season, and that is basically a high school tournament, high school invitational for all the best girls basketball teams in the area, in the Chicagoland area, every winter. And I've gotten to see some players who have gone on to. I've got to see some players who get scholarships to Duke, to Tennessee, basically. It's really cool to see players who, you first see them play in high school and they say, wow, she might actually go somewhere. And then when you actually see that she does go somewhere, it just feels really cool because oh, I knew about her before everybody else did,
Yeah, I mean that's what I got at too. Here's an 11-year-old kid, folks, already, acting like he's 21, like I am now, and already making connections with people. For years down the road, and 7 floors below me here at my hotel is where her family and myself hung out for about an hour and a half after the game between LA and New York had ended. We were all downstairs in the lobby, just pretty much having a Wednesday night party down here at the Lux. With that though, folks, we run out of time. But if you guys want to go check out the stories though, again, please visit WNBA365.wix.com/WNBA365. You can catch both my story and Crystal's story on the homepage, and there'll be plenty more to come. From us as well. Again, we'll have more coming up as well. We will have one blog request for Reagan off air. We want to kind of talk to her about that off air. With that though, folks, we've run out of time on what was probably the worst show we've hosted so far in our relaunch, from internet problems, and for the first time ever, the host getting kicked out of his own show because of internet problems. But as Tony Kornheiser on PTI says on ESPN, we'll try and do better the next time, folks. Until tomorrow night, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thanks for stopping by and joining us, and good night now. This has been WNBA 365 on the WNBA 365 network. We have a WNBA, and we are covering anything and everything in regards to the WNBA and the women's basketball universe. For Callum McClurg, Shorty Mama 24, and Krista Stewart all up in Los Angeles. And for Eric Nemchok in Elmhurst, Illinois, and also Reagan Patrick back down in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll be back here tomorrow night, hopefully bigger and better than tonight. Until then, folks, see you then. Bye-bye.